Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome back, and delighted having in the studio with us today a couple of gentlemen who are doing a special series on Southern Oregon Public Television, and I'm delighted to partner with them on this. It's a series entitled My Story of Service, and Jeff LeBeau, and and then we have Andy.
Yes,
Draper.
Andy Draper.
How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
How are you, Andy?
Good today.
Thanks for coming in,
us
guys.
on.
Yeah, this is pretty fascinating. You're the producer.
Mm-hmm.
How did all this come about? Why are you doing this?
Well, that's two different questions.
Okay.
But how it all came about was it kind of organically grew up. Back, I think it was about 2006. Ken Burns did a series, World War II. And at the time, we did a series of records of local World War II veterans that were kind of put in the archive. And I kind of came across them and discovered that almost every one of these fine gentlemen had passed on just in the 6-7 years. And I was talking with Andy and another a volunteer that, boy, it'd be really interesting to start archiving these personal stories,
Right.
Get a social history directly from the men and women who have served our country. Mm-hmm. And just serendipitously, it dovetailed into another upcoming PBS Ken Burns special on Vietnam. And so there's just been, and we floated the idea with a couple of our underwriters, got really excited. This has been the biggest groundswell of support that we've had as a station in our 38 years.
Wow.
Andy was instrumental in helping me get out and start to meet the veterans and figure out how to actually get these guys in the studio and talk to them.
Well, Andy, what are some of the highlights we're going to see through this series?
There's a group of local veterans who are going to be just telling their points of view on their service and their take from what happened. And I've watched a couple of them, but a lot of it kind of draws you in on a personal aspect. Yeah. And I think that's what people are going to be really interested in, to see just the humanity that's there and what their neighbors probably went through that they don't normally talk about. Right. So it does get those stories out of the 2% that serve.
Of course, you guys are producers, and those of us who are in front of the camera and you guys who are normally behind the camera, when you do a story like this and do a series of stories, every time I interview a veteran, and I've had the opportunity just a couple of weeks ago to interview some people that made it through Auschwitz and things like that. You're changed by it. You personally get more involved in this. It's more than just producing a series and making it look good on television. All of a sudden you realize these are real people. It really did happen. And were you guys impacted like that at that level?
Oh yeah, certainly, certainly. Some of these stories are, as Andy was saying, are very personal. And there's reference to events, the signing of treaties, battles that I've learned about in history, but to hear it from an individual's, and they have a very different, as in one of the vet says, who's struggling with PTSD now, and he recalls one of the event that kind of set him off was how everyone's experience is completely different and personal, as you can't just stamp say, oh, this is what a vet is and this is their experience. Everyone's life is a individual path across the mountain.
No question about it. Andy, or either one, Andy or Jeff, did you find it hard for them to share their story? In other words, they were struggling to get it out because most people, especially those who do suffer from PTSD, internalize, and that's part of the process that they're going through to get their healing. But they really don't want to talk about it.
I think there's a lot of reservation in sharing who you are and what you've been through for a couple of reasons. One of them is people think it's not interesting to other people. And then they believe that they're going to relive that, and sometimes those feelings come back up and you don't want to relive those things that took you to bad places. So that's the difficulty there. We've been fortunate enough to have some vets who have come to terms with that, and the public treatment of people as they talk about the things that they went through and what went on over there. There's always some skepticism of how people are going to take that and how they're going to view you after that.
You know, that's something I wanted to just ask both of you to respond to, especially the Vietnam vet. They not only struggle with, they want to put it behind them, but they struggle with, it wasn't a popular thing to do, so why bring all that back up again? Did you sense that in some of these stories?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it wasn't
more than one vet recounted what it was like returning and the decision to not let people know. Some Vietnam vets who shared that and said they wouldn't. Their solution would not let people know because they were saying, "Oh, being called a baby killer," and they knew they weren't. Their feelings about the war had evolved. They know they weren't as portrayed by the public, and they decided, like, okay, I'm not gonna, I won't let people know that I actually, but then you have other wars. That's what's been interesting about this, is that all of the different, unfortunately we've been in many wars.
Time too.
Yeah, and how they've been treated and why they got in, but they all share. I found it really interesting. They all share certain traits, at least coming out. They almost, bar none, still want to answer the call of service, even after returning. Even after when they're down on their luck or struggling, they still feel that call.
Well, anyway, when's the series going to run, guys? When's this going to happen?
The first series premieres June 8th at 9 o'clock after Antiques Roadshow, and runs 16 weeks.
16 weeks. All right, so June 8th, PBS, and starts at what time?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. So there's a little bit of on the screen there. It shows you a little bit about
great.
it. I just want to encourage people. Look, it's odd that I would tell you to watch another television station.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
But I really think that we need to understand these people who are living among us. And the struggles that they went through, and maybe what they're still dealing with, and to bring back to us a level of appreciation of the price that was paid for us to be an American. You know, I was working for KCRA Channel 3 in Sacramento at the time of during the Vietnam War, and I was assigned to go to Travis Air Force Base. I'll never forget this. It's forever in my mind. And I covered one of the first airplane loads of vets coming back from Vietnam, landing there at Travis Air Force Base. Still gets to me thinking about it. They came off the plane, and the moment their feet hit the soil, they leaned down and kissed the ground, only to get in a car and go outside Travis Air Force Base and to be spat upon. And so the dichotomy of that moment, I'll just never forget it. And yet, now they're suffering with PTSD and all of these other things. I just want to commend you both for taking this on, and especially highlighting people in our own backyard. You know?
Well, as the local public television station, it kind of feels like it's one of our responsibilities.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Well, we appreciate it.
And Andy, thank you for coming in. I guess we're going to keep you a little bit, Jeff, and bring in another Jeff and have him tell his story. He is a vet, right?
Yeah, and Jeff Tablor, he was one of the veterans that we spoke to, and he's in our series, and he has quite a story.
How many people did you end up interviewing through the whole thing?
Well, interviewed 24 people, 14 made it into a show, not because the other 10 didn't have fascinating stories, lack of time. Honestly, a few of the vets that haven't made a show yet, their stories were so complicated that trying to tell it in a 24-minute,
Yeah.
I've yet to figure out how to do it.
Okay. And that just underscores the issue, that their lives are so complicated. Yeah. Well, thank you both. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Jeff Tablor, and he is a Vietnam vet, to share his story. So stick around. Okay, we're back, and delighted to have in the studio with us Jeff LeBeau. He's the producer of the Southern Oregon Public Television special series coming up starting this coming Monday. It's called My Story of Service, and in the studio with us now is Jeff Tablor, and he is a Vietnam vet, and we're going to talk to him about his story. But let me tell you, this special series will start next Monday at 9 o'clock in the evening after the Antique Roadshow, which, by the way, I love watching once in a while.
We all love watching.
I'm surprised what may be in my attic.
Yeah, you could have your retirement set.
It could be sitting up there in a box. I don't know. But anyway, we don't do this very often. This is very unusual for one television station to plug another. But I am so proud of what they've done to bring to the surface the series of veterans and their stories. And it'll start next Monday on Southern Oregon Television, starting at 9 o'clock. And it'll run for how many weeks?
16 weeks.
16 weeks, Jeff? Okay. Jeff Tablor, nice to see you, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, and you're a Vietnam vet.
Yes, sir.
So what rank and what branch and how long?
Well, I was in Vietnam for a year during the Tet Offensive. I was a Specialist 5 or Sergeant, if you want to refer to that. And I was there a year, and I was in the service a year, 2 years and 10 months and 21 days and a few hours.
You calculated that down.
Right.
First of all, thank you for your service. You and I are probably pretty close in age, because I was being drafted and didn't pass. And a lot of my friends on that bus got drafted and immediately went in. I came back and tried to even volunteer in the Air Corps because I was a pilot. But I've been to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. on several occasions. I've taken a piece of paper and I've held it up and I've etched with pencils some names of friends and colleagues. An incredible time. As I told Jeff earlier, the thing that I'll never forget is when the first load came home from Vietnam to Travis Air Force Base. They got off the plane and kissed the ground, got in a car, and outside the base they were spat upon.
Yeah.
So, tell us your story.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be, didn't receive any spit, but I did kiss the ground when I got back. And when I came back from Vietnam, I was transferred to Atlanta, Georgia, Fort McPherson, where I ended up being discharged from to civilian life. But I was in Vietnam. I worked with the 29th Civil Affairs Group, based out of Da Nang. And they worked with the Marines who helped the people of Vietnam rebuild their homes after they were destroyed by either the enemy or us. I was also stationed up by the DMZ with the Marines and worked up there, and that's where I got to work with firsthand with the people up there, which was very, very interesting to learn how they felt about us, how they lived. They didn't want us there, of course, and I didn't blame them. We moved things out of the DMZ into South Vietnam when we destroyed things, helped them rebuild their homes. And we had an interpreter. I told Jeff this story. We had an interpreter who was helping us, a kid about 16 years old, because we needed somebody to speak the language. And one day he didn't show up. And I thought, well, he's probably sick. You know, they don't call in. So a few days later, I found out that he was arrested. He was a spy. He was a North Vietnamese. I have no idea what happened to him to this day, sadly.
Did you know what your mission was?
Over there? Yeah, I was told.
But your group, your battalion, obviously had a mission.
Right.
Did you understand the big mission?
I really didn't.
Okay.
I didn't understand why we were there.
Okay.
You know, we followed the French there, who were occupied and didn't succeed in getting anything done, and so then it was our turn, and and who's going to follow us, you know, type of thing. You know, I really didn't. It was really a sad thing to see. A lot of the guys didn't.
You saw frontline battle?
Not really, but really. I mean, we were there. We were hit by mortars. We were shot upon. You know, it was a daily thing when I was up by the DMZ.
I want to ask you a couple of questions. You don't feel comfortable answering them?
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you have flashbacks?
No. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
But you have processed it. And how you doing?
Okay, I'm doing okay. I'm doing better than a lot of guys did.
Yeah.
But what's happened to me is I've now have Parkinson's. And I was around Agent Orange in Vietnam. And so it made me think more now that I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. I reflect back, I think, oh.
Are they able to connect that dot?
Yeah.
They are. So
They
the
are.
Agent Orange and Parkinson's, that dot was connected?
Yep.
So the Veterans Affairs taking care of you?
Yes.
And you're okay with that now?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not okay with Parkinson's,
No,
but...
but I mean, but we're hearing the horror stories about Veterans Affairs right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I'll have to say that they have been very good to me.
Good.
Yeah. They sent me to a specialist in Portland a couple of times and checked me out here. And so, yes.
Is that common among your colleagues that were exposed to Agent Orange?
Yes, Parkinson's and cancer. Okay, my brother-in-law has cancer, and he was there.
Jeff, this Jeff.
Yes,
Got two Jeffs in
there's
here.
two Jeffs.
What am I missing in his story that we're going to hear?
Well, I don't want to tell you all of his stuff, but I think he downplayed a little bit about, you asked him if he was in battle, and he says that he got mortared, but he was face to face with the aftermath, the death, as I think you called it. There's a certain slosh to body parts in a body
bags.
in a body bag when a whole body's not there.
We were there for Tet Offensive, which was quite challenging and scary.
One thing I have heard common
Sorry, I didn't
from
mean to interrupt.
other Vietnam vets is that there was a smell of war that you can think about and still smell it. Do you experience that?
Yeah, there was a smell of war while I was there, and it just sort of stayed with you afterwards. You talk about being spit on when you came back. People didn't really accept you when you came back, you know, and a lot of guys took to drinking immediately, and just partied all the time, and tried to forget. It was tough. I was one of them, I have to admit. Yeah.
Okay. I can't imagine how you were trying to process that. I mean, here you are over defending freedom and liberty, and you come home and you're not accepted for what you did. I can't process in my brain what you must have been emotionally trying to deal with. You did what you were called to do, but you weren't appreciated for it.
Right.
How are you now on that issue?
I don't think we should have ever been there.
Okay.
I think it was a senseless war that shouldn't have never happened. And it just blows my mind now to see what's going on in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tourist trap. And you probably, some of the clothes you buy are made in Vietnam. So it's amazing to me the things that have just changed, how they changed. And I don't know if it's for the better or not.
These vets are just ultimately cogs in often, unfortunately, a political wheel.
Yeah.
They write a blank check to the United States up to and including their life,
Right.
and they'll do what they're called upon. But a lot of them afterwards, in my conversations with them, do reflect on, I'm not quite sure why we did that or why we were there. A couple other vets now are devout, non-aggressive, no anti-war. Going in, they were very pro. Coming out, having actually gone through the experience.
Right, exactly.
Go, well,
Totally
I don't
anti-war.
think this ever will work. But everyone has a different point of view, and that's why we did this series.
All right, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, it's a special series that will start on the 8th, which is a Monday, right after Antique Roadshow on public television. So I'm plugging another TV station. But look,
we appreciate you doing it, Barry.
I believe in what they're doing here, and I think that I want our veterans to know, especially our audience, to go and hear more stories and see this, because I think as frustrating as the world's become, we just kind of push it away over here. You know, it's there, it happened, so what? But we need, you folks are still living it. Anyway, it starts Monday night at 9 o'clock, and it'll go for quite a few weeks, these series. And how many episodes you have there?
There's 8 episodes.
8 episodes.
And repeated twice, yeah.
And they're going to repeat it twice. In closing, I only got about a minute left, but let me ask you this, Jeff. You mentioned during the break of how many families that are still involved in the military, and yet we don't know that.
Yeah,
or they're losing
one of the reasons, one of the first questions you asked me was why we did this. One of the reasons I was really interested is that when I was coming up and growing up in the 60s, every family, and you knew families that had veterans, military connections. But now, with the civilian population, it's becoming a smaller and smaller percent. I hear anything between 1% and 2%. And there's beginning a disconnect between the veterans and what they really experience that we used to find out from our family members. Now we don't. And that's one of the reasons we want to do the show, is allow people to really get to know some veterans.
We have a lot of families that have no military connection whatsoever, and therefore that legacy is passed on. And now we have our 3rd president that didn't serve in the military. You know, so we got this big gap going on here. So, hey, thank you guys both for being a part of it. Jeff, thank you for your service. Thank you, Jeff, for what you're doing. And let's stay in touch. I'd be glad to see how this thing turns out for you. And keep up the good work. Do some more of this stuff, okay?
Thank you.
All right,
you too.
We'll see you next time on Focus Today.